On tap today, we have Nick Tabor. How you doing, good buddy?
I'm great, man. How are you? Thanks for having me on, Aaron.
Thanks for being here. I am doing great, and I'm really eager to talk about the various projects you've got going on there. I I noticed right off the bat you have a fitness program.
Yes, I do. Yes.
Okay.
It's actually changing a little bit. It's Real Talk with Sensei Nick, formerly Honest Fitness Talk with your trainer, Nick. And I started working more towards my old roots of martial arts. And it's also been a lot about more about mental health than physical health. And, it has grown tremendously lately. And I'm also setting up a lot of episodes with my wife. And, she's doing a lot of episodes with me. And we're actually going to do one later tonight as the time we're recording this. So I'm kind of excited about it.
Like I've talked to you offline before, we've
Yeah,
had.
yeah.
I tend to do a lot of stuff on this end that comes from a place of like sci-fi fandom, comic fandom,
Yeah,
movie
yeah,
fandom,
yeah,
stuff like that. But
yeah,
I will admit that I'm also getting more and more into YouTube fitness and any sort
yeah,
of uh, program that you can do over the web. And since that's such a
yeah.
neat new idea, I'd love to get into that too.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's kind of where everything is going.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, with COVID and the way general life has been, like we are not gonna have traditional gyms in about 5 years. Like even where we are, like my old day job was in tourism, and if you think of it, like people would travel for business, they travel for leisure, but nowadays it's going to be like, I don't think I need to travel just to sign this paper or just to sign this contract. Because of COVID, the technology is there that they can email and e-sign documents. But it's the same thing with fitness. Almost immediately, what happened when all the COVID started? What was the thing that everybody had in their house, or at least you saw commercials of it?
Help me out here.
Would Was Peloton. Like that happened, the Peloton bike. And now you
Okay.
also have, like, you have trainers who are working out over online and trainers who are doing a thing. This new thing that's being developed, I'm kind of excited about, is called the mirror. Like people get up and they do their workouts, but the trainer's there and they're doing this like similar to Zoom technology, but they have a giant mirror that's actually a computer screen in their bedroom and working out with the trainer as if they're in a gym. Like I don't think we're gonna see, like, we might see a resurgence of traditional gyms in about 10 years, but it's going to be a very long time before we have like packed fitness classes like we used to have in the 80s, or like we used to have back in, where malls would just say, okay, let's go over there. Or in parks, like, let's go over there as a big group. I'm excited about it. I mean, and also the thing is, why I started the fitness and mental health fitness podcast is nobody was really doing it. I mean, a large part of the way people are receiving information is in their headphones.
Mm-hmm.
It's like what I'm doing right now. So, I mean, it was something really that was big to capitalize on, You had to do it. You had to do it right away. And, luckily I jumped in on it right when it was fresh. Oh,
Yeah. I mean, you're telling me the Peloton machine was the thing, and I'm thinking I started off quarantine by placing
Yeah.
in a large order for board games and a fondue pot. So we might be on a slightly different wavelength here.
Well, oh yeah, then again, Grubhub people kind of know my house very well
Fair
too. So
enough.
I'm not, I'm not the, I'm the trainer that's also realistic as well. So I get you. I get you. But yeah, I think a lot of people were looking for alternatives. They weren't necessarily going to go to a gym 24/7. They weren't looking for self-help, because also podcast really took a rise in downloads. Rise, like my other podcast, Movie Theater Time Machine, went from, if we were lucky, having maybe, I don't know, 100 and a half, to having about 1,500 to 2,000 downloads a week.
I would definitely want
In
to talk
an
about.
instant too. Yeah.
I want to talk about that podcast in just a minute because that's really
Sure.
where my head is at.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah.
dude, I've
Yeah.
got to ask. Uh,
Yeah.
as a guy who's looked at gym memberships and
Mhm.
just really not like the business model, if they don't come back, is that really a bad thing?
No, because there's always going to be alternatives. Like,
Hmm.
people who are looking for ways to, I think what we're going to see when we get out of it, or we're going to see a lot of trainers go out into nature, and we're going to see trainers get very, very creative. People were genuinely having, health and, like, I mean, hell, even when I was a kid, I remember people who went to the gym, they were the dudes who were like really super giant, and they would, if they were standing on the side like this, and you said, "Oh, hi, buddy," and they have to turn like this, and they couldn't turn their head. They were super giant out of the way, but people generally were healthy because a lot of people ran, a lot of people lifted things, and maybe sure, maybe like lifted the furniture around their house to build muscle, or just ate right to build muscle. So I think the alternatives that we used like back in the 90s, especially when I was a child, like how do you eat right, or how do you build muscle? Well, start doing push-ups, number one. That'll be the wave of the future, for the near future, I should say, not the big, not forever. But as far as I think what's going to happen in the distant future, in order for gyms to really come back, is they're really going to have to be about community. And where we are as a society, I think, as Americans in general, I think we're extremely unhealthy. And you're going to have that corner gym that's a part of that neighborhood that says, I want to get that family, or all the families of this town, really super healthy, and they're going to come in like gangbusters, because it's not about like work. I don't know if I can I mention business names on this podcast,
If you
or
choose.
okay. So like Workout Worlds, or one of those like Planet Fitness, or
Mhm.
something that's like, there's a gym, here you go, you pay only $5 a month to come in. I don't give a damn about what $5 a month is going to do. Yeah, that's cheap, but it's not about me. People who are going to go to a gym are going to be like, okay, here's the gym, it's not the big box one, it's Nick's gym. It's the Nick's place that has all the great equipment, and he knows every single person by name, and he knows every one of us by name. That's what's going to be in the very long term future, like 10, 20 years from now, when this all what we're doing, all this BS becomes a memory. That's going to be like when it comes back. You know, that's where we're really going to go strong, back into the gyms again.
I
Of
know a lot
course.
of those types of businesses. I don't know enough of the specifics about them, but
Yeah.
so many have kind of said, if we actually had everybody who pays for a membership show up and use it, we couldn't get people in the door. We're kind
No,
of counting on people to not come in.
no,
It's
no.
like they're betting against your success.
Yeah, they true, like the big box gyms, like the Workout World or the Planet Fitness, actually price it so low so people don't go. Because what happens is, they get all the money, they don't have to hire as many employees to upkeep, and they don't have to upkeep the machines. And upkeeping the machines is the biggest cost that people don't really think about, because you get somebody who maybe pulls a cord or pulls a wire or something, or natural fail, wear and tear, that they don't think about. And you have to spend money to do it. But if you have less people coming, the more you could spread apart the wear and tear, the repair times, and hence more profit. But um yeah, if you're gonna find more personalization, that might be a gym that you might have to spend a lot more money getting into, but the value is worth it, because every piece of machinery is clean, every piece of machinery works, and everybody knows everybody. And I think, inside of quarantine, I think we've become a lot more of a community base, especially in this country, because we're getting to know each other a lot more. Like we're getting to talk a lot more often about who we are as a society. and I think we're only going to get better from there. But we've got to like we will interact if we find value in it. You know what I mean?
I do know what you mean, and I'm
Yeah,
finding that
yeah, yeah.
I'm- something that we've definitely started doing on this show a lot is getting into who the community is, who the group is
Right,
that we start to get
right.
together,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I'm finding it really interesting that I'm talking to a guy who you clearly know a lot about fitness. You know a
I
lot
do.
about
Yeah,
the business of fitness, which is two
I do.
very different things.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely
But
true. Yeah,
you're
yeah.
also willing to sit here and talk to me about movies and stuff like that. So you're
You got that
actually
right. Yeah.
you have both of your communities together, and there's no conflict.
No, no, like everybody, not everybody wants to get into a gym and work out and build muscle, lose weight or anything. But I don't know a single person who doesn't want to talk about a movie.
Fair enough.
Movie theater time machine was something that started before I even thought about even being a fitness trainer. I was just a fat dude that wanted to lose weight. That was it. And I happened to know a trainer who was an ex-wrestler, and the conversation became one day, I'm like, "Do you think I can even do this?" And he said, "Yeah." And he hounded me until I called the guy who trained him.
Mhm.
And I looked back and I told people like the autobiography title for me should be I Don't Know If I'm Supposed to Be Here by Nick Tabor. And like I kind of stumble on things every once in a while in my life. Like, a friend of mine who said, "Hey, come out to the mall because I think you need something," when I was a teenager. Remember malls, kids?
Mhm.
Ended up introducing me to this girl who I married. And it's just like I'm like, okay, like that happened. I'm not a fly by the seat of my pants type guy in reality, but significant points in my life just become like, well, but yeah, Movie Theater Time Machine is a show that was started based on a joke, actually. A friend of mine had a podcast called the Blockbuster Dropouts, and they were all ex-employees of Blockbuster Video. And for those of you who are 19 and below, you might not know what I just said, but Netflix used to be a place you had to go to. And he invited me on, and he's like, "Hey, I think you kind of did cool," and introduced me to the studio owner. And he Josh, who was the head of Blockbuster Dropout, says, maybe you should try it. Maybe you could do better than me. Maybe you can do a movie podcast too, because it's easy. It's not, number one. But, then two, I said to myself, yeah, why not? Let's try it. And we had 5 episodes at first, and we were just going to call it quits. But 5 episodes that were so good that he shut his down and asked to be a guest on our show.
Wow.
And we're like, okay. And now we're going on. We just crossed 4 years that we've been doing it every weekend. And Movie Theater Time Machine is just really an excuse for 4 people. Like we all have day jobs, like you can see behind me in my office, and all of us who do it. And Dan, who's a mailman, and Joss, my wife is a professional artist, Kaz, and Joss, who works in finance, and all of us to kind of get together and talk about it. Like we just completed a month of Star Trek, the original series movies.
Okay.
And I'm getting into your geeky side here, my man.
Mhm.
Yeah, so we explored very deeply as to the relationship between the Vulcans and humanity, and who the Borg was, and also how the Klingons came to be and how they became a part of the Federation. And we deep dove. We had a lot of great, a lot of great actors who came along. Plus, uh, we had Liz Priestley, who just completed a movie with Idris Elba,
Mhm.
and she spent 20 minutes telling one of the, like, I don't want to give it all away, but it was one of the funniest stories I've ever heard about how she met Idris Elba, and how she was basically like everybody in the room was just like starstruck, and then she learned she was going to play his wife. And I'm like rooting her on. I'm like, you know what? I don't mind myself. I'm like, and of course, my wife and Joss are looking like, when can I sign up and be Idris Elba's wife? And I'm like, I have a fitness podcast where I can look good too. And I could be something, could be pretty cool, or we could try to do something right. But uh, I made up for it later. But we had some fun with it, and she was great, and also just the exploration of what makes nerdy. But one thing we do want to put up to it is people who watch movie theater, or we do live broadcasts on occasion on our Facebook page, but we do have a fantasy casting segment, which really ties consistency into the whole realm of insanity, where we roll D&D dice, and if we go above 20 for the D&D dice, we get to change the actors or change the genre or see how the movie would change, and that's the ending piece of the show. And we've been trying very, very hard to get various roles to be played by Christopher Walken. Sometimes the dice don't like it, but to put some things that are kind of insane, because we learned um Christopher Walken is the patron saint of our podcast. I don't know how that happened, but it did. And just to get something in there to be just able to say, like, Christopher Walken is now a Klingon.
Okay.
Wouldn't you want to see that?
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, I hate Captain
Sure.
Kirk. Like they're or just or something along the lines of just, okay, he wanted to destroy the Enterprise because he had a watch hidden up his ass, or something, or just or other things just like that just kind of go a little crazy. And it's
Mhm.
for to change it based on the point of comedy, or to change it based on the point of insanity. And sometimes we go right in the middle, and the audience has to decide which is which.
Fair enough.
And and we're doing February, actually, with Movie Theater Time Machines. We're exploring the next generation movies. So as you can see by the haircut that I am a fan of Captain Picard, and that was actually not by choice, but it just kind of happened and fell into it. I'm like, okay. I do refer to my cats as number one and number two too. That actually works. They both have beards, so naturally it works. So
Hmm.
I am between Riker and Picard, which actually that kind of works well too.
Hey, you could be in a worse spot to be in.
Yeah, right, yeah. um, and we're hoping to actually get into. We wanted to blend all my worlds, hopefully in a few months, to do the Karate Kid movies. But we're in talks of trying to. I really, really, really hope this can work. Is to get Billy Zabka on the show.
Okay.
That is something that's an exclusive for you, actually. But hopefully, if we can get Johnny Lawrence in, that'd be pretty fun
Well, I
to be able to do that. Yeah.
I will go out on a limb and put that out there and hope the best for you on that. I'm of the
You too.
I will tell you, I have a policy of never talking about a future episode until it's at least recorded, because
Nah, I don't care.
it
Yeah.
okay. I've been
I see
jinxed
your
into
point, but I don't
Mhm.
really care. I don't want to jinx it either. But it is something that's like, all we got to do is just get a date in.
Mhm.
And he's like, it's fun enough to try to be able to do it. But also, Joss, if you're listening, yes, that is something I am working on. She had a childhood crush on Billy Zabka too, so that'd be kind of funny.
Yeah.
But and yeah, so I mean, Movie Theater Time Machine is about being the biggest nerd in the world. We all talk about movies. We all do that. We've had actually, here's something that I think you would kind of like. We've been sponsored by perfume.com.
All right.
And one of the sponsors, the reason why we've done that is perfume.com has 4 Star Trek men's colognes.
They do.
And have you seen this?
I have seen it. Yes, I don't have
Yeah,
any.
yeah, I do. I have Sulu.
Are you liking it?
So yeah, it's pretty good actually. I'm wearing it right now. So it's Tiberius, Red Shirt, Sulu, and for some reason we haven't figured out why Pomfar.
Well, I see what they're going for.
Yeah,
I
but
mean, it's kind of the obvious.
yeah, but Pomfar, really? Do you really want Vulcan shame and sweat? Does it smell like that though?
Hey, everybody's got their thing, and I'm
Yeah,
not going to
true, true.
judge.
I'm not judging either, but it's
Hmm.
just kind of like, did you have somebody in that board meeting that went, hey, maybe you don't want to do that? Like, because there's got to be one Trekkie you can ask. Like Sulu, I get. Red shirt when you want to smell expendable. Red shirt. Or Tiberius, I get that one. That one's good. That's my next one, by the way.
Well, when they did a range of whiskeys last year or the year before, something like that,
Oh
and of
yeah,
course, the second they came out, everybody who was like, "Would this character really drink that?" And I was
yeah,
like,
right, right,
"Look,
yeah,
they're just trying to sell a bottle. They don't care what's in it. Come on now."
yeah. True, true. Were they flavored differently? Do you know?
I actually don't remember what was in, but there was a good single malt in there, a reasonably so one.
Hmm.
I think there was a bourbon. Uh, this one was Kirk themed, one was Scotty themed. I think there was a Klingon one.
Was there one called Romulan?
No, there was a separate product
They
from a
missed it.
well, no, but there was a separate product
Ah,
from a separate company called Romulan Ale, so that had been
okay.
done.
Okay, okay. But if you're getting Star Trek whiskey, I mean something's got to be called Romulan.
Now, see
If it's
what I
right,
will. There is
yeah.
a video on this. If you look at the YouTube version, I have my own recipe for that.
You do?
Hmm.
Good.
Get yourself a shot of
Yeah,
white rum,
yeah,
a shot of blue, fill the rest up with Sprite, and
yeah.
then shake in exactly 2 drops of Tabasco sauce.
Sounds good to me, man.
It is because it has the effect of
Sounds good to me.
it's really
Yeah,
sweet, but that
yeah.
Tabasco brings all that flavor out. And you take that
Okay.
first, like, what the hell is this? And then you're like, oh, okay, I'm coming back for more of that.
I do. I dig it, man. I dig it. That's great. That's a good idea,
Uh huh.
actually.
I'm
That's
a
a
big
good
fan of it.
idea, man. Yeah, that's
There
a
was a
good
time
idea.
I would actually
Yeah.
just print it up on a card and give it to bartenders because they would never know how to make it off the top of your head. But the premiere of the 2009 movie,
Hmm.
I went to a really nice theater that had its own built-in bar. I
Oh,
did
really?
that. I handed the bartender at the
Yeah.
theater that card, ordered
Hmm.
one. That was about 15 minutes before they opened the doors. By the time the doors opened, 3 other people in the bar were drinking the same thing.
Nice, nice. That's a man. You're giving me good thoughts about that. That sounds like a good idea.
Hey, there are other recipes out there involving
Yeah.
various things. That's the one that's worked for me.
Nice. Nice. Sorry, I'm looking that up tonight then.
All
That's
right.
cool. That's cool. That's cool. What else do you want to know about movie theater time machine?
So you're doing Karate Kid. You did Star Trek.
Yeah.
If we're keeping the 80s theme here, are you doing Police Academy?
Oh, that's one that's been a dream of mine. Just to do Michael Winslow's sound effects and or do it alone. One of the themes we did was we had an improv. My wife or I would do an improv guess, and I'm thinking of doing one where it's just a soundboard and doing the entirety of it, just doing a soundboard of them. But yeah, Police Academy would be a really fun one. I haven't considered it yet. Although I know for backing a bit, going to the 70s and somewhat in the 80s, we're going to do in June, we're going to do Jaws
All right.
because it's the 60 something anniversary, and we're getting a number of people who are actually in the cast. Some extras, some writers, and the guy who wrote the screenplay. We're still in talks about it to try to get him on, and also actually I work with the guy who was an extra in that movie. So we're trying to get him on too because he tells some funny stories, and that should be fun. And that should be fun. But yeah, as far as other '80s, I mean, Karate Kid would be a bloody classic, except for the one that doesn't exist, and because there's only three.
Mm,
In reality,
okay.
I refuse to acknowledge number four, or the next. But I think the others, I would love to do a month of trauma films, the ones that barely anybody remembers, but
Hmm.
my God, those are so fun. Class of
That
Nukem High and all stuff like that.
that actually
Yeah.
was something that came to mind when I threw out the Police Academy idea, because there's so many of those series where you get to a point where you want to pretend it doesn't exist anymore, and I wondered how you approach
Right.
that.
Um, there's some that we pretend don't exist. Like we did a series where we did Ernest movies,
Hmm.
and a tribute to Jim Varney, and we came across a movie that was one of the worst that we had ever seen. I'm not going to Barbara Streisand it, but it's called Existo. And was usually if I say don't do it, more people would see it, but you really should not see this movie because it's god awful. And how it's a movie, I don't know. But if we say it really doesn't exist, then we really take a chance to really, really, really rip it apart. And not only as a critique, but to rip it apart in a really funny way, and just let out, because the whole point of it for the four of us is for four people to get together who are just trying to make it in this world. And then, especially even during the, COVID-19 times, to be able to get out, sit down, and just really make each other laugh. And what I could say is that the worse the movie gets, the more we try to turn up the silliness, and not for the audience but for each other. And the crazier we get, the better we get, and sometimes sometimes some of those are far better episodes. I mean, when you do 210 of them, some of them aren't that great, and then you go
Hmm.
back and you go, these were great. These were great.
When it comes to the specific ones where he was playing Ernest, how far into that series did you get? Because most people think it stopped right after like Ernest Scared Stupid, and it very much did not. There are some that.
Oh yeah, we did the basketball movie
Mhm.
that he did, and we did Ernest Goes to School, and tried to find a few others. We could not find Ernest Goes to Camp because that's the only one that's locked up in a whole bunch of other stuff. One of the rules is at least it has to be accessible
Mhm.
in order to find it. And we stumbled on Existo, and I really wish we didn't. I, but
Yeah.
it was one of the it was one of our panel members who was on the show actually quit because of that movie. And I'm like, okay, did he watch? One of the questions was, did he watch it? I'm like, yeah, he watched it. Okay, he watched it. Great, because if we didn't, we would all stick him in the chair, duct tape him, and duct tape his eyes open, just so he would be able to see it too and suffer through the pain. But it ended up being a barrel of laughs anyway, because the worse it gets, the more we try to help each other get through it.
Yeah.
There ain't nothing worse than that. But yeah, there's yeah, the I understand why some of the Ernest movies were direct to video, because there's no way they could have put some of them in theaters,
No.
because they got bad. They
And
got bad. Oh yeah. Although Ernest Goes to Jail is a classic, I gotta
Ernest
say.
Goes to Jail is good. Ernest Goes to Camp was on Blu-ray. I got it on
Yeah,
Blu-ray, so it is
yeah.
out there, just probably not in print anymore.
It's tough to find, but you can find it. And Ernest Saves Christmas is a seasonal staple for me.
That is
But
actually a really good movie for the type of
it's
movie it is.
it's just a sensational movie, period.
Mhm.
Hands down, just a sensational movie that you see, okay, Santa Claus is coming around and he has to pass on the Santa Claus to another person, and Ernest has to help him. And like, all right, and it's just silly. It's just weird. There is an episode we did of Ernest Saves Christmas. Go back and look at probably one of the funniest Santa things. We had an improv thing. It was Santa Claus versus Krampus reviewing the movie, but Santa Claus and Krampus were actually really good friends, but the story that twisted over time. And my wife played a really funny Krampus.
I,
One of my best friends, Bob, actually played an amazing old man Santa who ended up getting obsessed with Hanson. I I don't know how we got into it, but it's seriously one of the best movie theater time machine episodes we ever recorded. And we've gone through all the Ernest movies, so you probably figured that out by now.
mhm.
But it's really like it's still God makes me miss Jim Varney.
Have you gotten a hold of Ernest Rides Again? That's one that
Yes,
I'm missing. Okay.
yes, I have. It's hard to find. You
All right.
have to dig and dig and dig. I think we ended up pirating that one, to be
All
honest.
right. Because that was
I don't.
actually where I saw it on Amazon a few times, and I'm like, I'm not even
Yeah,
sure if I'm going to get some like burn or something if I order this. So I
yeah,
held off on it.
yeah. You will get it. Yeah, it's worth it if you're a completionist, but
Mhm.
it's not a. If you're casually going through it, you won't get it. But it's just to complete all of the Jim Varney series. Supposedly, there's a new one in the works, but it's the supposedly in the canon is Jim Varney. I'm sorry, um, not Jim Varney. Ernest has a kid
Mhm.
somewhere, and he picks up the Ernest P. Worrell persona and continues on with it for a new generation. And it's something that's being worked out by Ernest, well, they're one and the same, but Jim Varney's nephew.
Mhm.
And then that's really that,
I
it's,
I know when he passed away, and you got to
hmm,
figure how bad those last few Ernest movies were, and they were terrible and
yeah,
very low budget. But when he passed away, they were in the process of filming Ernest the Pirate. So I'm
yeah.
like, how much lower were they going to set that bar?
What I would have loved to see is Ernest in the modern day.
Uh huh.
That if he would have survived, and I mean, Jim Varney drank and smoked himself to death. He was 50 and had the lungs of a 90-year-old, just to put it bluntly. But he had I would love to see Ernest try to do TikTok dances, but get it accidentally.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to see like some like remnants of it, the entirety, were you aware there was an Ernest TV show?
I have it.
Yeah, you have it. Okay. The entirety of it for your listeners or viewers, I'm not sure how you're going to project this, but the entirety of it is on YouTube. If you're into it and you're into the movies, it's worth the insanity of seeing it. None of it is good, but it's like out of the 12 episodes that aired, it's 4 hours. If you really need to kill an afternoon, it's worth it for insanity, but have your favorite refreshment nearby because you're gonna need it.
Yeah,
You're
I
really, you're really gonna need it.
I'll agree with everything you just said. There is a certain type of show it fits into.
Yeah,
It's what today's kids probably wouldn't even really recognize it, but it used to be a big thing in like the 70s, 80s to very early 90s where you would have like this live action show with a goofy character and they would put in different segments. And
yeah,
Saturday morning, because they're like, this was your
yeah,
Pee Wee's Playhouse, your Captain Kangaroo.
yeah,
It fits into that type of show.
yeah.
Like that's,
It's Pee Wee's Playhouse,
yeah,
except without Paul Rubens. It's Pee Wee's Playhouse, 100%.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
if you are into that kind of thing, you will not find it to be a waste of your time.
yeah. Oh,
Beverages will help.
yeah.
If you prefer other enhancements, that's on you. But I'm just saying, bring a friend.
Oh, bring a friend.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring a friend. That's by far. I will back you on that, Aaron.
Hmm.
Bring a friend. Like, because somebody else is gonna see it. It's like you look at it and go, if you look at it and it's like where you see a car accident and you're the only person on the road, not in the car accident. You're like, oh, this happened. That. Oh, come on. Nobody ever gets into an accident there. Or I saw a brown bear right across the street and they looked at me and, oh, come on. You didn't see that. It's the same reaction as you're going to look at this and go, what happened?
Hmm.
And somebody else see it. It's like if you've seen Tommy Wiseau's The Room, same thing. You watch it with somebody and you're like, what just happened? Like having somebody there will be helpful.
I had a friend in college who was really into terrible movies, so we got along very well. And
Yeah.
I found out through
Yeah.
somebody else that he had never seen Manos: The Hands of Fate.
Oh, Hands of Fate is awesome.
Yeah. So
Oh, it's
I,
bad, but man, that's whew.
so I immediately jumped up and said, I want to strap him down and make him watch it. And they said, you don't have to strap him down. I said, no, I want to.
Yeah. Hands of Fate is so that's an experience.
Mhm.
That's an experience in its own right. Yeah.
Have you seen the sequel?
There's a sequel to
There
it?
is a sequel. It's a legit sequel, not like a three people got together and made it on YouTube. No, there's a legit sequel to Manos: The Hands of Fate. It's called Manos Returns. You can find it on Twitter.
Yeah.
You should probably look it up before you get out of that chair because you'll be thankful you did.
Okay. Yeah, I will. Yeah. I gotta get going a little bit, but they're gonna shut the place down soon. But
Let me let you go.
Okay. Yeah, but I will look this up because this is pretty interesting.
But before you do, where can people find your adventures and your podcasts?
Okay, so you can look me up on Instagram. You can look up Sensei Nick Tabor. You can search Movie Theater Time Machine anywhere. Look up patreon.com/mttm, where you can look up our TV Time Machine sister show, or you can look up Movie Theater Time Machine on any one of your anywhere. Basically, just Google it, you can see it. But it's on your catcher of choice everywhere. Also, Real Talk with Sensei Nick is everywhere. If you just look up my name, Nick Tabor Podcast, and nicktaborfitness.com will provide you links to it as well.
All that's going to be in the show notes on my website, aaronbossig.com. Nick, thanks so much for being here. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, man. Absolute pleasure. Great to be with you.
Talk soon, buddy.
See you later, man. Bye-bye.